What's up, guys? Dr. Mo here, digital nomad physician at digitalnomadphysician.com. Today's video is going to be the day-to-day of running my virtual medical practice. So now my situation is a bit unique in that my medical practice is set up to be a health coaching practice first. I then feed the kind of health coaching clients that I like, who are in the states that I'm licensed in, into my own practice, in my own virtual medical practice. The virtual medical practice is a bit set up to be a primary care practice, but maybe in this video we'll go over why it's not exactly the same. So here we go. There are a few aspects to having a virtual medical practice. In essence, it's no different than a physical medical practice. You're going to have some sort of an advertisement for people to find you. In a physical medical practice, that's essentially your location. You have a source of patients coming in, which oftentimes is the insurance companies if you take insurance. Then you have the actual patient visits. You need somebody assisting you with either the patient care or with everything else that happens behind closed doors. And finally, you have your sales. You have to make sure that your overhead doesn't exceed your income. And of course, you want your income to be quite good enough to pay for everything. So you need to set prices. Number one thing that I put on here is marketing. Why? Because a virtual medical practice doesn't have the advantage of having a physical location. And so people aren't going to find you. You have to put in quite a bit of effort to be found. And when I mean quite a bit of effort, it's quite a bit of effort. Quite a few virtual medical practices are going to have a very hard time finding patients in the beginning. The good news is you're always going to find a patient. If you're a physician in the US, you're always going to find a patient. It's a matter of time, and it's a matter of tinkering with your process to make sure that the way you're doing it makes sense. Because the way you come across on video, on some written content, on a podcast, however you're doing your marketing, is going to be different. Maybe I am not quite as pleasant on the screen as somebody else. Maybe my specialty is not in as much of a desire. So every one of these things is something you have to tinker with, which I've talked about in many other videos. So we're not going to get into that. So my day-to-day, I'm going to go over the day-to-day in detail towards the end of this video. But one of them is sort of overseeing content creation and creating content. So some of the content that I create is kind of similar to what I do on this channel. I create a content that sparks the interest of somebody who potentially may want to work with me. Now, I'm not a YouTube creator. I'm not a influencer. I'm not a YouTube personality. I'm not trying to get a bunch of followers. When I put my content on YouTube or Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn, the goal is for that content to eventually find the right person who's going to become my patient. Now, whether they're going to come in through the health coaching side and then later become my patient, or they're going to become my patient right off the bat, that doesn't matter. The way I create my content is mostly based around the problems and potential solutions that my patients are looking for. 80% of my content is about them. 20% is maybe a little bit of behind the scenes, kind of like this video, and the way I do things, what I charge, how I do stuff, what they can expect. So I create videos. Videos for me are easy because I feel comfortable in front of a video. I've dialed in my situation. So essentially I use actually a phone, which is what you're looking at right now, the front screen of it. So I'm looking at the screen. I have a wireless mic. Up until recently, I had a wired mic, but I move around so much as a digital nomad, obviously, that it was difficult. So I ended up getting just a decent wireless mic, and it's working really good for me. So the video content is the key. And when I create video, the goal, again, is to let the person know what it is that I offer, how I think through problems, what is it that I could potentially do for them. I also write articles. So one of the main sources that I write articles is LinkedIn. These are very short articles. And I also do it on Substack for drashori.com. And again, the patients I take on in my practice are behind the scenes. That's not getting advertised. That's the beauty of the way I've set up my practice. But you could imagine drashori.com just being a purely virtual medical practice that doesn't do any health coaching. So that's articles. The social media posts are a bigger part of it. Social media takes a while to find your voice, to gain some traction, to really stand out. It takes some time. Generally, if you do it consistently enough, you're going to find some traction. Again, if you're trying to find 100,000 followers, I don't know why. I don't see how any physician could handle even 10% of that as patients, but you know what you're doing, I'm assuming. But if you don't, you need a social media strategy person. That's one of the most important people that I work with. I spent a lot of money on her. She charges me a lot of money hourly. And the good thing about it is that we come up with a strategy, a social media strategy, a marketing strategy. Once I have that, then I start thinking about the posts that I want to do on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I don't do TikTok, but I think that's a good source for younger patients, or if you're younger physicians, that's a great source. The way I think about creating content on LinkedIn on these shorter pieces, so for example, for YouTube, the YouTube Shorts is really just to give a way for a person to think about how I view a clinical situation. So for example, if I'm doing primary care, the way I think about cholesterol, diabetes, hypertension, disease prevention, and the way I run things in my medical practice. So I talk a little bit in that video about how I manage a disease and a little bit about how I do things maybe a little bit differently. And I think it's also nice for them to hear how I think about clinical stuff that they probably are going to get exposed to. The next thing in the marketing is the advertisement. So once you have some traction on social media, once you have a few videos, once you have some content, your website looks good, once things look professional, then I think advertising is great. You run a few ads. Most advertising platforms want you to spend tons of money on them. So they'll say, oh, if you don't spend this much, you'll never get any traction. It's not always true. Always start small. Always run multiple ads at the same time. So maybe 3 to 10 ads at the same time. So you can compare them, like why this one is doing better than another, and then kind of focus on the ones that are doing well. It's taking data back from the advertisement campaign to see what's actually working, what's converting, and then doing more of that. So when I run an ad, my goal is either to have more people click on my website. That's a good start, because chances are nobody's going to click on your website unless they're interested. And then often a really good metric, could be a primary metric for you, is how many sales you get. In the beginning, that's not going to be easy because people click on your website. They might go to your Google business profile. They're like, this dude's got 2 reviews. I ain't going to work with this guy. That's the way any business starts. The professional athlete was a professional athlete until the next day when they qualified for the Olympics. And then the next day they became an Olympian. Unlikely, they were an Olympian, right? So your business is going to take a while to get started. Once it gets started, it's just going to take off and it's going to be kind of exponential. If you've ever had another business, or if you had an Airbnb, that's a great example. First, you get no reviews, nobody books it. All of a sudden, a few people book it, and all of a sudden, you got 100 reviews for your Airbnb, and that's it from there, right? So that's advertisement. With any of these things, I always hire a consultant. Now, I think you can maybe figure a lot of this out yourself. I've owned many businesses, I've operated many businesses, I've had many different brands. So I'm kind of comfortable now bringing somebody in. I would advise doing it yourself if you don't know anything about it, because you're just going to waste a lot of money. But I've spent $2,000 on somebody just to give me advertisement advice for a medical practice. I've spent $3,000 on just a consult for my branding. But it's of value to me. Getting the right photos, getting the right typography, getting the right words on my website is critical, especially when you're a physician, So the next thing in the marketing is really connecting with some other source that you go to and you say, guys, this is what I do, send patients to me. This could be a private orthopedic practice, this could be a podiatry practice, this could be a nutrition practice, and you're like, look, this is a service I offer for a select few people. If you find this person with this characteristic, that person with that characteristic, those are a good fit for me, you're welcome to refer them to me. I'm going to do, like warm handoff. I'll take them into my practice. I'll give them a free 15-minute consult to see if they're a good fit. So it's a great way to kind of get your name in front of a lot of people quickly. So now the next piece, we kind of talked about marketing, is the, let's call it talent management. I call it managing fucking employees. And the reason this is frustrating to me is because I'm just not good at it. I have friends who are really, really good at it. So when I used to own an auto mechanic shop, the person who was my business partner was brilliant. He was so good at managing people. I felt like he knew how to communicate with people. He knew how to explain things really well. Yeah, that was a skill. That was what he was really, really good at. So that's definitely something that I'm learning. The people that I've hired is a website developer. So this person handles my website, constantly makes changes based on what I want to add to my website. I have a social media person who helps me think of kind of like the bigger picture of the social media, but also scheduling which piece is going to go out when, editing the photos, taking the written content that I have, touching it up and making it look pretty. I have a design person. This is a person who I bring in only for edit my videos, edit this part of the website, and then they will connect with the social media person to get that done. Nowadays, everything's on Trello. So when my design person needs to do something, they're on my Trello board, they communicate it. I tell my social media person and my website person, hey, look at what the design person said. Let's do what she said. I have a Google business page person, a Google business profile person. So this person just manages my Google business profile, the drashori.com. And that's important because Google business page for healthcare is a bit complex. It's a bit, they're strict about what you can and can't do. And I just don't know enough to do that. So I just kind of let her handle it. And that's also one of those things that takes a little bit of time to grow. Finally, I have attorneys. I have multiple attorneys. Why do I have multiple attorneys? I have a business attorney, I have a legal attorney, I have a malpractice attorney, and I have an attorney for just contracts, etc. That doesn't mean I'm paying multiple attorneys tons of money. It's just that these are people that I've built relationships with. There are some attorneys that I have a retainer with, and so I can generally call them for free to run things by them. Like, hey, I'm doing this health coaching thing, but I'm adding it to this other thing. Is that going to get me into any legal trouble? Especially for my state. It's of great importance. Now, you might think I'm spending tons of money on these people. I don't think I am. For my attorneys, maybe it's a couple $1,000s a year. For my dream team of employees, it's maybe, a year, that would be like $20,000 to $20,000 a year. And again, I didn't start out that way, right? I kind of built up gradually. And when I started making more money from patients, I would put that back into the mix. In the beginning, you might just hire a social media person 10 hours a week. Now I have a full-time social media person. To me, that's worth it. All right, next one is actually setting time aside with patients. So we got the marketing, we got the employees. You actually need to see patients. Now, I don't see patients full time, and I think that's good for me. I don't want my day-to-day to be fully just seeing patients. I wouldn't even enjoy that. But there are certain things that I like to read up on. So I spend a good amount of time on really solid podcasts, YouTube videos from physicians that I respect in this entire modern healthcare space. So I'm not of this longevity sort. For me, it's more about really this healthy aging and helping somebody stay healthy and avoid chronic diseases, this kind of prevention model. And again, my brand is very different. So you can check out drashori.com to get in a sense. I'm not going to talk about it here, but I do spend the time meeting with the patient. Sometimes I will spend time in the day to share really good content from other people with them. So I send it to their WhatsApp. That's usually where I communicate with patients, is on WhatsApp. I have an electronic health record where I can send them stuff, but it seems like most people prefer just text message, email, or WhatsApp. And again, you want to sign that document with your patients to confirm that. And then it's a lot of scheduling changes. So the people I work with are busy. So they're constantly kind of like, hey, I got to move this around. Can you do it this time? Can you do it that time? And so I'm doing a little bit of patient management. I'm kind of like sending them messages, helping them to kind of continue booking sessions with me, or become a member of my practice, not just book one-off sessions. Those are all the different things that I kind of spend time doing, managing patient care. And as far as patients, I would say About 50%. Yeah, I would say about 50% of the time, it's kind of patient management. 50% of the time, it's all this other stuff, which is, I think, a good amount. For me, the kind of practice I like to run. The next one, another big section, is electronic health record. I've moved electronic health record 1,000 times. I was on acute health. Then I was on Hind Health. I'm still a little bit on Hind Health. The next one that I'm on now is Healthy, which I've talked about before. I toyed around with having my own my own electronic health record, like piecing it together using Google products and Zapier. The reason I spend so much time on the electronic health record part, because it's everything of my practice. It's my practice management software, it's my billing software, it's my patient communication platform, it's my patient scheduling stuff. I want it to fit, I want it to be nice. And I'm working towards a future where this stuff is pretty streamlined, where this stuff is going to be not in the forefront. Right now, all of this stuff is in the forefront. I'm actively engaged and thinking about this stuff 24/7, not 24/7. When I go to sleep, I don't think about this shit. I wake up beautifully refreshed. So I do want it to be a little bit better. I want it to be so seamless that the patients like click a button like, yo, what's up, Dr. Ashori? What's going on, man? Like, why the fuck am I got bleeding? I want it to be smooth. And I think I'm getting there with some of these softwares. The problem is it takes so much time to learn these softwares. That's the one piece that I don't like as much. But yeah, probably every single week, I'm spending a few hours tinkering with the electronic health record and seeing how I want to change stuff. All right, now, when it comes to the daily tasks, thanks for sticking to the end of the video, the two of you who are still watching. So the daily tasks. So I wake up in the morning. I'm usually communicating with my social media person. That's the big one. She's like, hey, I did this, I did that, and I want you to write this and write that, and you need to record these couple of videos. Of course, remember, guys, I have 3 businesses. So I have 4 different businesses that I run in my narcissistic head. And so I do spend time doing all this other stuff, right? But when I wake up, that's kind of the main thing, because I know that her social media stuff, she needs to plan it out ahead of time, and I really need time also to write the content. You'd be surprised, I actually use very little ChatGPT for my content, because at least for now, ChatGPT, Gemini, and that other one that I tried, which sucked, they're just so predictably the same thing. I just don't feel like I can connect with my patients. So what I'll do is I'll write something and then I put it into maybe ChatGPT, like especially when I'm writing an article, she's like, hey, write this article for me. And then I say, hey, give me a couple of good title ideas. And then I'll piece together from all the options, like, oh, this would be good. I have it rewrite a certain paragraph that doesn't make any sense to me, and I still don't like it when it rewrites it, so I'll just try to like use it and then reword it. That's been really good exercise for me. And I'll add one other thing. Try every single time any of these like LLMs gives you an idea of how to change it, pay attention to why it's changing it in that way, and you'll actually learn it yourself. Next, I look at my patient booking for the day. So obviously I start my day pretty early, but then I kind of look at my patient booking, who's coming, what are they talking about? Did they even message me back? If they didn't even text me back, they're probably going to cancel last minute. I send them a message. Do you still want to work? Do you still want to do this call together? I look through any of the content that I want to send to some people. I text people back. I text my patients back, obviously. So that's patient care. And then I'll kind of like log in several times in the day to just kind of do some patient care stuff. Then I sit down and actually write content. So I grab my laptop. I'm about to actually head out here. I've been in Bend, Oregon for the past month. And I go to the coffee shop and I just write. Or I go to the library or something. And so I'm just writing LinkedIn articles, Substack articles, or blog articles. Those are really fun. For me, I love them. I'll come down and record videos. So either after I go out, I come back. Right now it's 10:17 a.m. And this is my like 10th video. And they go really quick because this is my 10th video that I'm making, but the first 5 that I made were like 3-minute, 4-minute videos for the Dr. Ashori brand. And those are pretty easy to make. They don't take that long. I don't edit them. Well, do I edit them? No, I don't edit them. Yeah, so what I mean by edit is I record this video on this phone, and then I go and I share to my YouTube because it's in Android, and then it's uploaded to my YouTube channel, right? So I don't really go back and edit anything. But of course, once I upload it to YouTube, yes, I have to add a title and a description and stuff like that. Every once in a while, if I really fuck up, yeah, then I'll go back into the video and I'll say, I gotta take that piece out where I was like picking my nose and eating it, like that, you gotta take that out. So the next thing that I do is I approve ads. What I mean by that is I've created an ad, I've sent a message to somebody, my ad person, to come up with some new ad strategy. So I'm approving it. I'm looking at what my other ads did. Is it on the right track? Am I spending too much money? The other day I got a bill for like $299 for 3 videos I was running an ad on. And I'm like, shit, dude, that's way too much. And it didn't do that well. They didn't do that well. Others have done well, so it's okay. But like, I sort of just let them run and I didn't pay much attention. So I'm getting better at that. The next one is lead magnet creation. A lead magnet is, hey, if you want to know what 5 blood tests to order to really see around the corner to prevent like diabetes or dementia, I'll create a PDF. I'll create a little course, something small that somebody can download. It could be an audiobook, it could be this, it could be that, ebook. And it's just something small that they can click on, say, I like this. Maybe they'll give me their email in return. Even if they don't, it's not a big deal. And that's kind of a lead magnet. Maybe they like it enough that they then want to like buy one of my courses or become a patient of mine or buy some sort of a coaching package or membership package, any of that. The next one is website issues. So I'm on a Trello board. It's like Asana. It's like Slack, same shit. And so my web designer says, hey, you got a bunch of these pages that give us error messages. This is what I'm doing for it. So I communicate back. And then, for example, the other day I sent Jeremy a message saying, hey, how come my website doesn't have a accessibility feature for people with disabilities? Like, it should have the colors and contrast and stuff adjusted. And he's like, yeah, we'll add it. So he added it in like 2 seconds. So that's great. Yeah, stuff like that. And finally, last thing that I do really is just plan the rest of the week. What is it that I want to create? What is it I want to do? Is there a campaign I want to run? Do I want to do a YouTube live? Do I want to do a group session with a few patients? Do I want to collaborate with somebody else? So I leave time for those kind of things and just kind of plan it out in my calendar and my schedule. Pretty easy stuff, pretty simple stuff, nothing complicated. So that's a daily, day-to-day stuff. So if you've made it this far, if you're interested in building your own virtual medical practice, I do have a wonderful course on it. Talks about health coaching, talks about running your medical practice, talks about all this shit that I just talked about. If you want to book a session with me one-on-one to run your situation by me and get advice, you can do so at digitalnomadphysician.com.